Songwriter from the south suburbs of Chicago. She had to throw that suburb.
Yeah, I can't claim Chicago because
You know what? Fuck it, we just gonna go with it since you gonna mess up my intro. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying I'm not one of the people that say like I'm from Chicago. It's like, no, I'm from the bird.
Please introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Deiselah. I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. I'm a poet, singer, songwriter. Yeah, theologian, all that.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Give me lit. Well, welcome to Live on the Lake. We definitely appreciate you coming out. Let's start it off. Songwriter.
Yeah.
Poet.
Yes.
Singer.
Yes.
Where did you get this creative ability?
I feel like it's been with me for a little while now. I always grew up writing stories, having my mom read stuff when I was little, and then it kind of just transferred into doing poetry. When I was in the 5th grade, we had an assignment for social studies, and they asked us to write about what was going on in the world.
Okay.
One of my social studies teachers, Byron Stingley, who is a house musician.
Hey, I was saying that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So he was like, "Yo, this would sound good with music behind it," and that gassed me up. That's all I need. That's all I need to hear.
That's a legend. Okay.
So after that, it was just like, okay, maybe it's something to this. Since a grown up is saying to a 5th grader, like, this is actually pretty good. Like, maybe I should continue to write because I felt something from it. I felt like I was giving a part of myself while writing. So I was like, okay, let me continue. And after that, it just was like, it just went from there. And I started continuing to do it in church and stuff.
Nice.
And then
do that poetry up there.
Basically, I was like the church poet at the time, 15 doing poetry in church. And then it's kind of turned into man, maybe this is what I'm called to do. Maybe I'm called to write and speak and reach people in that way. So yeah, that's where it started, and then it turned into a master's degree in creative writing.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's big. Hey, y'all make some noise for that. Come on, yes. So, you know what? Just listening to your story, you used to read them books. That's time in grammar school and stuff. Y'all go read these chapters, 3, 4, 5, 6 chapters and come back. We used to go online and look for them. So,
and look for the cliff notes and stuff.
Look for the cliff notes.
Yeah, absolutely. That was me too. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So, what made you attend Columbia College? All the colleges in the world.
Honestly, so one of my profiles, Christine Goggins, she went to Columbia College, and I kind of heard from her. She was doing the MFA in creative writing and poetry as well, and I'm like, okay. I had just come back from California, so I was in California doing the first master's. I started at Fuller Theological Seminary in California, and I came back. I'm like, I'm not really feeling this school. It's a little too whitewashed for me. I need to kind of find people that are really talking about the people. You know what I'm saying? The people. So I came back from California, and I was like, man, I feel like I need to branch out into this. So I applied to Columbia. In not a non-traditional way because I sent them audio files because I like to record and put stuff over music and stuff like that. So I sent them that. They allowed me to do that, and I was like, okay, cool. This is different. They allowed me to kind of vibe in my way, but
they probably thought it was, hey, that's kind of creative. That's probably you probably got accepted off of that.
Honestly, the professor, she was just like, go ahead and send it in. They kind of open to different types of media and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me send these tracks in. I had some written stuff too, but yeah. So I sent that in. That kind of got me in the door because it was a little different. But I had to learn how to write for the page versus writing for the ear, which is totally different. Writing for the page, it's
explain that.
Yeah.
I didn't go to Columbia.
No, for sure. So writing for the page, it's everything that's set down is it's about how you see it. So when you read books, poetry and books, it's all about what the eye is getting, right? Okay. So it's how things are spaced out, indentations, blank spaces, things diagonal, vertical, all that is important. So when it comes to writing for the page, because people are not necessarily going to hear you read it unless you're at a reader. Right? Spoken word is more for the ear. So I can write that on the page however I want to write it. However I want it to come across, I can write like, say if I want an emphasis, I can like put a space, but nobody's gonna see that space. They just gonna hear a pause. You know? So I had to learn how to like break away from like the spoken word aspect to end up writing for the page, which is totally different. And you know, you had to learn how to like, you know, use creativity. Like there's been poems that I've like dibbled and seen and are like words like all over the page, and it's about how the person interprets it versus how I want you to feel it. You know
what? Hey, you gotta do something. You gotta do something right now. You gotta do something. I'm sitting here like, okay, yeah. Tell me what you talking about.
Okay, so wait. Okay, I'll read something that I wrote in spoken word, and then I'll like read something. I'll try to find something on my phone that kind of shows the difference. Okay. So this poem is called Grandiose. This is what I wrote for today.
All right.
So it's called Grandiose. And also, I don't memorize stuff because that's like my mind is crazy.
Do your thing.
Sure. All right.
Do your thing.
All right. Body full of breath, blood, bone, heavy. I feel this weight is a burden to anyone who gets close enough, as if weight won't be evenly distributed. Allowing my kindness to be a mask for sadness that lingers at the back of my throat when I smile. This is not a sad life, though. It's existential. Constant reflection, a duality, a dual reality, yet my lenses are a mirror. Dual. But this life I live is in singularity. Lost in thoughts of how I come across. Humanness. Tasted bitterness, but my love has remained sweet. I love full, overflowing, tapped into an infinite well, ready to fill an empty cup even if there is no reciprocity. Maybe it's delusions of grandeur, a God complex, to think that this well of mine is bottomless, and yet when I feel a void, I try to fill the void, trying to find ways to be satisfied, yet hiding behind walls, camouflaging the pain, trying not to be seen, but living boldly. This is the duality. Afraid, but yet still taking leaps, dipping in between multiverses of happiness and depression, and maybe this is the delusion. Holding on to the hope in the midst of this internal chaos, yet the love for humanity allows me to step away from the singularity and live between the lines of duality.
Yeah. Hey, what school you went to? What school you went? I know that wasn't public school. Hey, give it up. Y'all give it up. Oh my. Hey, you did your thing.
Thank you.
You did your thing. So, where did the inspiration come from that piece?
I feel like it's just like kind of like the human condition in some ways. I mean, I feel like we kind of all live in a dual reality, you know, things that we want people to see, the things we don't want people to see. And it's kind of like this kind of like juggling and balancing of like, how do I move? How do I be? You know, people always say to be yourself, but like sometimes you feel like yourself may be too much. And it's kind of just like this weirdness, because you know it's not too much, because people tell you it's not too much, but then you like, maybe it is too much. Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I'm not doing enough. But yeah, it's still sometimes like this like little glimpse of like hope that like it's just in there. That's like, nah, it's cool. Be you. Love full. You know, love hard. Love good.
Do you think there are enough outlets in Chicago to recite poetry?
I've never really gotten into like I've been to a few open mics. I go to one like regularly.
Where is that at?
It's called don't give me the line. It's called Smoke.
Don't worry, we're gonna check
Smoking Word.
Okay.
Yeah, Smoking Word. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And I could put out a link on my Facebook, but it's Smoking Word. I think they having one coming up actually. I think on the 27th.
Nice.
No, or the 28th. I think on the Sunday. It's always on a Sunday. So yeah, Smoking Word. But I never really got into like the competition and stuff like that. And no shade to the competitions, but I just feel like sometimes it doesn't allow people to like fully be themselves because they're trying to wow the crowd. They're trying to woo the crowd when you could just write and just be yourself and let people feel you, you know?
So what is your outlet? How do you get this out to the people? You just write for yourself?
No, I have put out a couple of projects. I'm trying to put out some more stuff, but I have some stuff out. If you follow Deiselah music on SoundCloud and Deiselah on iTunes and stuff, I have stuff out there. But yeah, right now I've been kind of in this like weird like creative space because I'm in school currently, so like all my creative mind goes to like writing papers, which is not the same as like writing poetry. It's like literally like all reading and stuff like that. So
let's speak on that.
Yeah.
Currently, what are you in school for?
So I'm getting a Master's of Divinity with a concentration in LGBTQ studies. So a Master's of Divinity is basically the study of theology. Okay. So I'm trying to like, look at the Bible through a queer lens, and kind of try to bridge that gap between the church and queer folk, because there's a lot of queer folk that believe, and it's like there's a very weird dichotomy that happens between those two. So
do you think? I think everything is about education and bringing people together to learn about each other. So, do you think there's still a miscommunication within the church right now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. On a lot of fronts, not just queer issues, but women's issues, just about everything. The church has become stagnant in their ideas and ideologies, and I think we're at a time where things kind of need to change. There's a lot of misinterpretation of what we read. People take their own interpretation to be law. And there's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of history that goes into it. There's a lot of things that don't make sense in the Bible. Right. There's a lot of things that we pretend that make sense that don't make sense and are kind of like asinine in some ways. But it's all about like breaking those things down and like learning for yourself rather than having somebody give you that, having a pastor give you that, somebody to say that, oh, this is what it is. It's about going deeper for yourself. And I think when you go deeper for yourself and you kind of get at the root of it and read from people of color and not just white literature and things like that have been given to us, then we as Black people in particular can kind of find some type of freedom within what we learn from what has been passed down that doesn't get talked about.
So in Chicago right now, if you wanted to go research or get not even research, just get closer to the Lord, with your peers, where would you go?
For myself, I'm a part of the Meds community in Olympia Fields, Illinois, and I've been kind of like trying to help guide that vehicle into like merging the queer community and the church. But there's a lot of places in Chicago. You just got to be willing to look for them, because they are kind of like ducked off. They're kind of these sweet spots that nobody knows about. But for myself, this is a church I grew up in. This is a church that has accepted me as who I am, and that has been liberating for me, which I know that's not the case for everybody. But shoot, like, y'all can hit me up. We can do some research together.
Well, look, man, I ain't gonna cut you off, but I'm gonna say this: it's 2022. Y'all niggas need to get together and figure it out, cause man, it's all love. It's all love. We all gotta live here. We all gotta get together. Mind your business. That's the biggest problem. Mind your business. If it ain't your business, don't mind it. Okay.
That's
all right. Look, I just want to say, get the people your socials where they can check you out. All this great work.
Yeah, absolutely. Deiselah, Deiselah on Instagram. Deiselah Thompson on Facebook. And you can look me up on iTunes with Deiselah, and then on SoundCloud, Deiselah Music.
Dope. Hey.
That's what he said earlier.
That's what I said. Hey, you know what? You gave me an idea. We might come up with a Love Jones Chicago type of thing. So hey, y'all might be on the lookout for that.
Survive.
Give it up. Live on the Lake. Terrell S. Allen, Alexandria the Now, DJ Doza The God.